state proctor, he is stuck at the temple that he once lived in when he was younger. And this temple was already kind of abandoned and only had a few handful of monks living in it. They were all older ones, and they were kind of shocked that this skillful, talented child chose to be at their temple when he had all other temples wanting him. But he wanted this place because this place called out to him. But this place goes through something horrible and horrific once he enters it. Basically, full on everyone dies, and he blames himself for that. Well, he got older, he meets himself a friend who ends up being the crown prince. And he serves underneath the crown prince. He wanted to find a way to make sure that the crown prince didn't die. So he created the spiders. But by the time he got done making the spiders, the crown prince, who had become emperor, does pass away of old age. He decides to continue his work as the state proctor, and he decides to take himself a student once he realizes his time is almost over with. This student was the second protector, the Melite's past life. And once he had this child settled, he passed away and then ended up stuck as a ghost spirit thingy at his old temple. Just like his teacher, the Melite during his life as the second protector took in a student. And he uses the methods of wearing those leather mask things that look like real faces, real skin, to change and fake the whole they're still the same person kind of thing. And he passes those skills and abilities down to his student, who will one day pass it down to him again. And he does everything his teacher taught him to pass down to his student, to make sure that this trick is still believed by everyone that is still the same person prior. And because he had Buddha's bone, he uses his own body once more to sacrifice his life for the good of the people, which, horrifies and upsets his student because the Melite was supposed to have a longer lifespan than most people, but because he chose the common people over his own life, he ended up dying way too young. And I guess his student, once he finds the Melite once more and becomes his past teacher's now teacher, he becomes weirdly greedy and selfish. He, I guess, also becomes selfish and greedy over the position of state proctor, because when he's supposed to switch places with the Melite, so the Melite could be state proctor, he does for a short period of time, but convinces the Melite to switch back, which the Melite was perfectly fine with, because again, the Melite loves to live in solitude and have his own peace and quietness. Unless he needs to step in to deal with a problem, he prefers solitude. So he's perfectly fine switching back with his teacher because he doesn't really care for the court stuff. Until his teacher started pulling stuff, and then he stepped in. But yes, sooner or later, his teacher becomes greedy. I was a little confused about that part. The main character, he finds the Melite and the first state proctor, but he can't see them. He doesn't really fully know that they're there. Like, he knows they're there, but he can't see them or hear them at all. But he's not having it, so he pulls out the thing that he gifted the goon's brother-in-law in the dude's past life, so he'd be able to find the goon's sister in his new life. So yes, he pulls this out, uses it to bound the Melite so that he can see the Melite and talk to the Melite and hear the Melite. And thanks to doing that to the Melite, it somehow affects the first state proctor, so the main character can also see him. And let's just say these two do not get along. They literally butt heads. That is literally the entire conversations they have with each other during the rest of the book. Every time they visit each other, they talk to each other, they just butt heads. They do not get along with each other, not one bit. But like the state proctor can tell this relationship between the Melite and the main character, and he just feels like he's stuck with a son-in-law he doesn't really want at all. He's stuck with the dude. There's mountain keepers that's supposed to keep people out of the mountain. They pass down to one person to the next. The newest generation of the mountain keeper, he decides to go up to where the temple is, and he ends up actually being able to see and hear the first state proctor. And he decides to constantly visit and get to know the state proctor and just be buddy-buddy. He also, thanks to visiting the state proctor, he gets to see the Melite and the main character because they also visit the state proctor. And they end up being basically one big happy family where the main character and the first state proctor still butt heads. And guess what? This mountain keeper is the reincarnator of this first state proctor's friend, the crown prince that became emperor, that he created the spiders for. Yes, he came back to him, and I was so happy for him. There's a 10 years time skip in the story, and we get to see what the stonemason and the brat were up to in that time period. So the stonemason, he returned back home to his wife and children. His son is now in his 20s. His daughter is now 16. His 2 apprentices are now masters. And since they are masters, he's now ready to retire. And I am so happy for him. The brat, he continued to go down his brother's path of work. And thanks to his father taking in his brother when he was a child, he decides whenever he sees an abandoned child or a child with nowhere to go, he will take that child in. So he has several children of his own. And one of these children he finds is the reincarnation of his brother. And he literally starts bawling in happiness once he finds the child and takes this child in. He's going to make sure that his brother now has no worries or anguish in this life like he did in his prior. He's going to make sure his brother has a happy life, and I am so happy for both of them. Main character Melly, they go to the restaurant that started all of this. You know, that restaurant where that waiter hired the Melly at the get-go of the series. Yes, they go to that restaurant, and they find the goon's reincarnation. He is having a meal at the restaurant, and they decide to have a meal with him. And it's just a super sweet moment. I was super happy for them. I am like in tears. Like these tears were happy ones, just like they were happy ones when finding out the brat found his brother's reincarnation. And I hope the goon's reincarnation sees them off and on in the future. Like this isn't just the one time they see each other. Like we do know that they hadn't seen the brat and the stonemason in a long time, and the stonemason had to use one of his 3 emergency things to call them to get them to come to his birthday celebration. But I hope they get more visits, and I hope they visit the brat and the stonemason more often. Like, I don't want this group to fully be over with. I need them to see each other. The main character, he's the one who deals with the after effects of the ritual. He goes around erasing everybody's memories of the events. It makes it just seem like they were just horrible vile dreams. The only person he doesn't erase the memories of is the diviner. And that's because she was the one who fully stopped the ritual. He lets her keep her memories. He also reveals the truth to her and how she needs to deal with the problem. And years later, the main character is still butting heads with the poor bird. Like, yes, they are civil, but they're still picking fights with each other. And this poor bird is also getting traumatized by the main characters in Melly's romance. Like, it witnesses stuff it does not want to witness. It's constantly trying to run off as far as it can for a period of time, or it just goes to the other room, but it feels like it's the third wheel and it doesn't really want to see them having fun with each other. Like, it's just traumatized. The only thing I was confused by at the end of the series, if the Melly was still state proctor at the end. Did he have to retire, or did he make it out that the state proctor died? Because yes, he did die, and the third state proctor is dead. So they could be like, oh, here his body, he passed away, protecting everybody, and we have a funeral for him. Or they just push the death of the third state proctor in the background and he continues his work as the state proctor. That part is not fully confirmed to you, so I am not sure. Can someone explain that to me?